Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the August 14th, 2024 meeting of the Fond du Lac City Council. The first item of business is roll call, which is done electronically, and I will declare a quorum present with Ms. Leering absent. The next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, which is followed by a moment of silent reflection. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on our agenda is public hearings, and we have none. So next we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda finalizes the proposed actions for the meeting. A, July 24, 2024 minutes. B, list of claims dated August 7, 2024. C, denial of claim, claimant Bobby Sircone. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move the consent agenda approval.
Motion by Mr. Heisler and second by Mr. Godfrey. Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is audience comments, agenda and non-agenda items. The presiding officer will limit speaking time for non-agenda items to 1 minute and items noticed on the agenda to 5 minutes. Ms. Hefter, do we have anyone wishing to speak? We do have two. All right, we'll start with Charles Williams. And he wishes to speak on parking lots and meters, which is a non-agenda item.
Good afternoon, and thank you for seeing me. I've spent most of my life, adult life, in the military, and I moved to this great city. I retired and moved into a retirement community or senior citizens housing between 1st and 2nd Street, St. Pete. We have 15 parking spots in the basement and 10 outside. There's 40 units in that building. The nearest place that you can park is in the public parking lot next to the building, and I think it's 6. But if you go down, all the tags are taken, yet the parking lot is always empty, except for on weekends. I park up front, except for when there's no parking available, and then I end up parking on the street. I got a ticket last week because there was no place for me to park. It's not like I can park in the neighborhood down the way because I am disabled, and most of those people in that building are disabled, and we do not have parking.
I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, but could you please wrap up your comments? This is a non-agenda item, so we've hit the 1 minute.
I just think it's unfair for the people that live there to have to pay to use those meters, especially when you don't check them in the evenings and on weekends when people from downtown are using it. And people that live there, you don't have any parking meters in front of your house, do you? I do. Thank you, and I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you. Next, we have Donna Richards, who would like to speak on agenda item 6, input items, the community development and IT department budgets.
Stuck behind this tall thing. Yeah, this won't take long. I just typically look at the budget, typically look at all of your hearings, and have been quite pleased with everything that I've heard that's been accomplished, and it's thrilling to see the city moving forward. But I also want to say that perhaps this year, finally, for all the years that we've been watching it, there might be some resources to actually do some capacity building in the areas that we really need to build capacity, especially when it comes to human capacity, staff to do things. And so I sent Joe and council a letter. If anybody else wants it, feel free to ask that a copy be sent your way. But basically what it says is we're very fortunate. You know, we have that extra money from the county coming in our direction. We have the extra money coming from the state coming in our direction. But as I also stated in last year's my speaking to you on the budget. There's a lot of capacity within the hotel tax to have some of those dollars, I would say, more efficiently used by getting some of the staff that the city desperately needs. And I made a list of some of the various functions that are sort of missing here, like communications, large project manager, sustainability. There's a whole bunch of them there. And those could be combined into 1 or 2 or 3 positions, which could be funded with the potential of $300,000 that's allowed by state law. There's a study that was done by the Wisconsin Policy Forum, whatever they call themselves, that came out a couple years ago. Basically, it says that the hotel tax, the amount collected, not the rate, but the growth in the income from the hotel tax has been tremendous in the last 20 years, like going 150% over what it was. And when I first started looking at it, when I first got in council, I remember our Convention and Visitors Bureau at the time getting in the 450 range a year of funds from the hotel tax. Now they're over $1 million. And while they might be a great organization, I think there's a lot of potential for other things to be done with those funds. There's some limitations by the state, but the city is allowed to keep 30% now, which is tremendous, and I hope you'll consider that, and we'll start to see some of these functions happening. And the other thing I want to say, I went to the housing report the other day. It was very well done. It obviously says we need housing for every single income group in the surrounding area, but especially elderly, low income are starting to show up homeless, and I just think we need to light a fire under ourselves, find some developers, and get moving on increasing our tax base, not just tax abated stuff or tax increment stuff, but real taxable property that we desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, that concludes audience comments. Next, we'll move on to our action items. Action item A, change of agent, Class A fermented malt license, entity Speedway LLC, agent name Chad Griffith, agent address 4 River Terrace, number 1, Kiel, Wisconsin, doing business as Speedway 4313, business address 550 West Johnson Street. And our introduction is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you, President Brawl. This is a standard agent change for Speedway at 550 West Johnson Street for their Class A fermented malt license. Background checks were done on the proposed agent, Chad Griffith, and city staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Hefter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Zimmerman and second by Mr. Mullen. Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item B, change of agent, Class A intoxicating and Class A fermented malt license. Entity Scoggins Food Liner, Inc., agent name Jared Tigert, agent address 27 Lake Street, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, doing business as Festival Foods, business address 1125 East Johnson Street. And our introduction again is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you again, President Brawl. This is another standard agent change for Class A intoxicating liquor and fermented malt license at Festival Foods at 1125 East Johnson Street. Background checks were also done on the proposed agent, and city staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Hefter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of the change of agent. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schussler and second by Mr. Heisler. Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item C is ordinance number 3794, an ordinance amending Chapter 630, Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the City of Fond du Lac to revise parking restrictions on West Division Street. Our introduction is by our city engineer, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Ms. Brault. This is to modify the existing parking restrictions on West Division Street from Brook Street basically over to Townledge. City engineering has initiated this particular request because the completion of the West Division Street Bridge and all the development in that area led us to review the existing parking restrictions out there. And it was determined that there was some ambiguity, some redundancy, and just some conflicts in the parking restrictions in this area. So basically, in order to clean up the code, we're recommending no parking on either side of the road from Brook Street over to the west branch of the Fond du Lac River. And then also because of the raised median as part of the bridge project, on the west side of the bridge from Talmadge over to the railroad tracks, we also recommend no parking on either side of the street on West Division Street. Advisory parking and traffic, along with engineering, supports the removal / revisions to the parking restrictions in this area. So if there's any questions, feel free to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Johnson? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Godfrey and second by Mr. Mullen. Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item D, ordinance number 3795, an ordinance amending Chapter 630 Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the City of Fond du Lac to add stop signs on Ducharme Parkway and North Prairie Road. Again, our introduction is by our city engineer, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. This particular request is to add stop signs at 3 different locations along North Prairie Road. One is to make an all-way stop at Campus Drive / Ducharme Parkway. The second is to make a all-way stop at Honeysuckle Lane and North Prairie Road. And the final area is to make an all-way stop at North Prairie Road and the Fond du Lac High School access drive. This request was presented by Mr. Sean Peters, who lives on North Prairie Avenue or Road, sorry. And his concern or complaint is that people are speeding down North Prairie Road. They're basically using North Prairie to get back over to 151, over to Winnebago Drive. Basically, we went ahead and took traffic and speed counters out there, and there is a speeding problem on North Peters Avenue, North Prairie Road, sorry. People are speeding or traveling anywhere from 33 to 36 miles per hour out there on a 25 / 15 mile an hour school zone area. We also looked at the volume of traffic along with accidents, and after reviewing, we do not recommend adding stop signs at these 3 locations. As I believe I've said numerous times, that stop signs' purpose is not to slow down traffic, it's to regulate traffic. So even in the Wisconsin Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, it explicitly says don't use stop signs and yield signs to regulate speeding. That's more of a traffic enforcement mechanism. So engineering and traffic, along with the Advisory Parking and Traffic Board, recommend a denial of this request. If there's any questions, you have to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Johnson? Mr. Heisler.
Thank you very much, President Brault. Just a quick question, Mr. Johnson. Based on the fact that we have a request of a denial here from Advisory Parking and Traffic, is there anything that we can do for the speeders, or is that just, like you mentioned, traffic enforcement, and that's kind of is what it is?
Yes, it is just basically traffic enforcement.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I guess I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, and I realize I probably should have asked you this before because I just thought of it now, but do you know when you were looking at the average speeds of vehicles, was the speeding problem just across the board, or was it more like when school was in session that, like, do you know if there was certain times of day that there was more problems?
I couldn't tell you right
Okay.
now. I'd have to look that up for you.
Mm-hmm. I guess Mr. Peters has contacted me about this issue, and I really do have to give my sympathy because, pedestrian safety, the increase in speeding, I think, is definitely something that we need to be addressing. But I also understand the recommendation that stop signs aren't really the solution here. So I guess I would just hope that, there would be continued enforcement, especially since it is near the high school, Yeah. Chief Goldstein, did you have anything you wanted to add to?
Yes, thanks, President Brault. So just as we worked in conjunction with city engineering and they put their equipment out there, we've also had enforcement as we listened to that, and it was off-school hours. So just to give you an idea, even within from the end of July, like 23rd, 24th, 25th, 28th, 29th, we were out there every single day for different times of the day. High speeds we were seeing was like 31 on a day. Most vehicles were close to 30. We did have one vehicle at 42 on that road. Did receive a cite. It was a person from New York driving a rental car from Ohio. But the majority of cars we were seeing was at 30, 31, 32. We'll continue to have our patrol out there. It is a directed area of patrol for us, so they are doing traffic enforcement. We have listened to that neighborhood. I really think the traffic pattern, we have to see it during the school time. It's very different in the summer than it is when Lakeshore and Fond du Lac are letting out and going to school. So we'll keep our eyes on that and work with city engineering. I do agree. I actually went to that meeting that, stop signs will probably cause other issues for that neighborhood than what they're looking for. So, but no, it's definitely on our priority list.
Thank you. I really appreciate that information and your continued watching that road in particular. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, are there any other questions? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Mullen to deny. Is there a second? I'll second. Second by Mr. Zimmerman. Are there any other questions or discussion? Mr. Schussler.
I don't agree with the procedure where we have a motion to deny. That doesn't, I brought this up before, it doesn't make any sense to me. If somebody wants this ordinance to be passed, they should move to pass it, and then if there's no second, then it would die for lack of a second, or be voted down by our vote. But I continue to complain about this approach to ordinances where we're voting to deny. It makes no sense to me from a procedure standpoint. But other than that, I agree with staff that we shouldn't be putting stop signs. The free flow of traffic is important.
Oh,
President Brown, can I jump in here quick?
yeah, Mr. Heisler.
Okay. Just to piggyback off what Mr. Schussler said, I just want to make sure procedurally I understand his concern and I echo those concerns. I'm just curious, like procedurally, we're doing this correct tonight, right? Like first, by motion, and second, we're approving the denial, so we're good to go on that front, Ms. Panikopoulos?
As set forth in Attorney Hoffman's memo to
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Mr. Mullen.
I just like to also agree that this is a strange way to go about it. How it even appears as an ordinance when the recommendation is to deny. But it is what it is. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do appreciate all the comments on this. I do understand that it is kind of, it doesn't really make sense. I will say I've done a training, I think it was with the Wisconsin Counties Association, where they did recommend if you're denying a motion to make the motion that way so that you're voting in favor of the denial rather than encouraging people to vote nay. So it's just a procedural thing. So since we have the motion on the table, we'll proceed with that, but I understand it's kind of a frustrating method to go about it. So with that, yeah, thank you. With that, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously to deny. Next, we have item E, ordinance Ordinance 3796A, an ordinance amending Chapter 630 Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the City of Fond du Lac to revise parking restrictions on East Merrill Avenue and North Park Avenue. Again, our introduction is our city engineer, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. This is final ordinance for the night. This particular request is to add no parking in front of, on the south side of East Merrill Avenue on the east side of the road, and then, sorry, the south side of the road, and then on North Park Avenue on the east side of the road. This request is made by Mr. Justin Grafe, who is the owner of the property at 69 North Park Avenue. Mr. Grafe is requesting these changes because he is having difficulty exiting his driveway, which is on East Merrill Avenue, real close to the intersection there. This particular request is unusual because it's basically a spot restriction that's one individual resident is requesting. This is not something we generally would want to do, is to grant spot requests, while I can see Mr. Grafe's concerns with getting out of his driveway. So the request, there's two, it was broken up, the ordinance has been broken up into two different requests, an A and a B, based off the recommendations of Advisory Parking and Traffic. Advisory Parking and Traffic has made the recommendation to council to approve the no parking zone on the south side of East Merrill Avenue to the east of North Park Avenue. But the original request was to have the no parking not only on North Park, but on East Merrill. Engineering has made the recommendation to deny both requests because, again, it's a spot request. It's more of a precedent-setting event. So with that said, Engineering and Traffic does not support the addition of these parking restrictions. Advisory Parking and Traffic recommends the no parking only on East Merrill Avenue. A little convoluted, but if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Johnson?
A lot to unpack.
Mr. Mullen?
Let me get this straight. You are in favor, or Parking and Traffic was in favor of the no parking basically in front of Mr. Grafe?
Yeah, great.
Mr. Grafe's house, but none of the others? Or no additional?
Advisory Parking and Traffic was in favor of granting the no parking zone on East Merrill only.
Okay, and that's the one in front of his house, basically.
Well, his house is on the corner.
Yeah.
So, but
Right,
it's adjacent to his
on the Merrill
driveway.
side of his lot, yes.
Correct. It's adjacent to
Okay.
his driveway on Merrill.
Okay, and is that option A or option B?
Um,
Option B.
It's option B. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Mr. Heisler.
So procedurally, we have that A and the B to look at, and we'd be looking at, if we want to follow along with what Advisory Parking and Traffic, we'd want to move forward with B, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Just want to double check procedurally. We're good, Ms. Minneapolis over there?
Yes, that's correct. If you are following Advisory Parking and Traffic, you're voting to approve ordinance 3796B.
B, got it. Thank you very much. Thank you both.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of 3796B.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Heisler and second by Mr. Godfrey to approve 3796B, which would be, oh, sorry, I have the wrong one open. That'd be adding the no parking on just Merrill, correct?
Correct.
which was the Parking and Traffic's recommendation. All right, are there any questions or discussion on the motion? Mr. Mullen?
I just wanted to say, Mr. Grief sent us all a video, and the video laid out very good what the problem was, so really appreciate that.
Well, and I'll just add my comments. I understand the not wanting to do kind of spot no parking restrictions, just because it's kind of unusual. But I have to admit, because I live in that area, my kids go to Chegwin, that's a very busy intersection, and seeing the video that Mr. Graves sent us, it is very difficult if there's somebody parked in that area to see as you're exiting that driveway. But I also agree with Parking and Traffic that not creating a no parking zone on Park Avenue makes sense. I know Mr. Graves' suggestion was it would make it easier for people to be turning right onto Merrill and have traffic proceed on Park, and honestly, I feel like that would actually make that intersection more dangerous, because at least if you have people parking in that area, then it's kind of limiting the amount of traffic, because that's where I've seen some problems. Actually, our family got into an accident once in that intersection, so I would definitely not want to see no parking added just to that little spot, but I have to agree with the assessment of Parking and Traffic that it might be helpful to have no parking in that area. Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously for ordinance 3796B. And with that, that ends our action items, so we will move on to our presentation of input items. First is the 2025 ITS budget overview presented by Information Technology Services Director, Ms. Duvenek.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brault, and good evening, Council, and thank you for the opportunity to present the Information Technology Services budget summary. The ITS department operates as an internal service fund with a dedicated team of 6 full-time employees. Each team member brings diverse skills and knowledge to ensure our systems run smoothly and securely. I'm immensely proud to lead a team dedicated to supporting the city's technology and driving it forward. Our mission is to provide the city of Fond du Lac with innovative technology while sustaining a high level of customer service, network reliability, and security. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do by giving you a brief overview of the foundational components defined by our 5 service delivery areas. You're already familiar with some of these services, especially the ones highlighted in the upper left-hand corner. Those support services are responsible for supporting PCs, tablets, peripheral devices such as printers, scanners, mobile devices, and telephones. But much of our work occurs behind the scenes and not always tied to a specific issue, project, or individual request. These services include monitoring and maintaining systems, safeguarding sensitive data from our cybersecurity threats, implementing essential software updates and patches. We manage the city's network infrastructure while diligently backing up critical data to prevent loss. Additionally, our team is instrumental in supporting all city departments by managing software and hardware contracts, overseeing technology projects from inception to completion, and ensuring compliance with industry standards and regulations. Here is where we delve into the crucial operation metrics that reveal a little bit more about the city's investments in technology. Every member of a city workforce utilizes technology in some capacity. At the core of our technology infrastructure, we have 2 state-of-the-art data centers that are redundant to each other and serve as the backbone of our daily operations. Together, these support 106 physical and virtual servers that host essential applications and manage over 1 terabyte of data, ensuring availability and performance. To facilitate seamless connectivity, we maintain over 2,000 network-connected devices that enable us to communicate, share data, and collaborate effortlessly. We maintain and support over 100 different department applications, empowering various departments I'll start that over. We maintain and support over 100 different department applications, empowering various departments with tailored software solutions to optimize their workflows. One of the ways IT assists our employees is through our help desk ticketing system. Last year, 2,602 help desk tickets were created. Our technology matrix continues to grow with an average of 300 daily public Wi-Fi users and an extensive 30-plus miles of fiber optic infrastructure. These metrics and the services that I had listed on the previous screen reflect a significant investment in technology, which is crucial for the city's seamless operation and continued growth. Over the past year, we have been engaged in numerous projects that have significantly improved our city's technology infrastructure. The upcoming slides will showcase these initiatives and investments. Success and progress were only possible with the collective efforts of every department, leader, city employee, and city council member. We deeply appreciate your partnership in these initiatives, and we recognize that our progress results from our collective efforts. Several infrastructure projects have been underway to keep our network secure and reliable. These initiatives include refreshing network switches and 30 wireless access points, upgrading various network equipment throughout the city, and expanding our data storage by 50%. Additionally, we have upgraded to a 10-gig internet connection, refreshed and modernized several foundational servers, and migrated databases to the latest software versions in a clustered, redundant environment. We have expanded fiber to Playmore Park in the Miracle Leave of Fond du Lac complex, providing free public Wi-Fi and installing security cameras. Additionally, we connected fiber to Lakeside Park, to a well station, to the Boathouse Marina, and wastewater pump stations. We've also strengthened our city's security infrastructure by successfully completing phase 2 of our three-phase camera project. This project concentrated exclusively on replacing outdated cameras without introducing any new components beyond the installation of the replacement cameras. Several American Rescue Plan Act, also known as ARPA projects, are underway, focusing on security and enhancing infrastructure and connectivity. We are implementing several initiatives to enhance the security of the outlying wastewater and water buildings. This includes improving security cameras, access controls, and expanding our fiber, along with monitoring equipment for critical infrastructure at those facilities. Additionally, we are expanding wireless connectivity in our downtown and Hamilton Park, and ITS resources have been significantly allocated to these major projects to ensure their successful completion. Earlier this year, we officially launched our big investment into the new Enterprise Resource Planning Solution, also known as ERP. For those of you who may not be familiar with ERP, ERP is basically our business system used for essential business operations such as purchasing, finance, human resources, and payroll. Last week, we completed the needs assessment and process analysis, which are the critical milestones in this initiative. This project has been a collaborative effort involving finance, human resources, and many other departments. We are on track to create the request for proposal for deployment with plans to release it hopefully later this year. This project represents a significant advancement, and we look forward to the benefits it will bring. We've also replaced several workstations, laptops, mobile devices as part of our ongoing technology refresh. Additionally, we've implemented several new pieces of software and upgraded existing software to enhance productivity and security. The audio-video equipment in this very room has been modernized, replacing our legacy hardware and producing a higher quality broadcast and streaming experience for our council meetings. At our first meeting in January, we introduced the streaming capabilities on the social media platform YouTube to allow our users to view from a smart TV or any device on the internet or with an internet connection. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Kevin, who's always in that AV room over there, for his dedication to recording each and every meeting and capturing each moment. So, who's all streaming in to watch our council meetings? Here's a graph of the live stream views up until the first council meeting in July. Live streaming allows our viewers to view these meetings live, and all the council meetings are held on either the second or the fourth Wednesday of each month. And as you can see here by the graph, just under 2,000 live views were in 2022, approximately 1,000 live views in total in 2023. And so far this year, we've had 337. 154 of those were on our YouTube page, and 183, are from our website. So for a total in the last 2.5 years, around 3,500. And we still have 9 meetings to include in this data for the remaining of 2024. These are the on-demand statistics, highlighting the flexibility and convenience of accessing content whenever a viewer chooses. You can watch the city council meetings directly on our YouTube page or through our website. Here's a graph showing here approximately 3,000 on-demand views occurred in 2022. A little more than half that in a little less than half that in 2023, with approximately around 1,700. In 605 this year, 403 of those on our YouTube page, and 199 from our website, for a total of 5,300-ish on-demand views over the past 2.5 years. So that brings a grand total from the previous slide to this one, about just under 9,000 live and on-demand views over the past 2.5 years. The on-demand views, going all the way back, dating to 2019, is just over 45,000, and just under 19,000 live views for a total of 64,000 since 2019. Now let's look ahead to our exciting and upcoming initiatives. Here's a glimpse of what's on the horizon as we continue to innovate and improve our city's services and technology. The ongoing ARPA projects highlighted earlier in the presentation, along with the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning Project, remain our high initiatives. While we've made notable progress, we must continue our efforts to ensure their successful completion. We're expanding our city's fiber network to include Fire Stations 2 and Fire Station 3, along with a public safety training center. This expansion will ensure operational continuity through redundancy. The uninterrupted power supplies, also known as our UPSs, at our 2 primary data locations are ending year of life and are due for replacement. These UPSs ensure that data centers can continue to operate in the event of a power outage or a disruption. Strengthening our cybersecurity posture will forever be a top priority. We are very fortunate and ahead of other municipalities by being able to use ARPA funding to deploy the SIM, the Security Information and Event Management System, back in April of 2023. To give you some data, we just learned today that in the past year, 7.5 billion, not million, records and logs were collected by that system and analyzed. So this technology enhances our ability to detect and respond to potential threats and enables the detection of incidents that may go otherwise undetected, resulting in a more secure network. And before I wrap up our presentation tonight, our IT team and our intern have created an informative video for everybody. Maybe. See, technology doesn't always work for me either. Oh, maybe my mouse back. Let me do it this way. See, I saved it purposefully for this reason. Now, where's my sound, Sam? Did she have to? Just turn it off. Oh, there it is. I can't get my mouse back. There we go.
Guys, we need something for the budget presentation video.
We need our greatest accomplishment of the last year for the video.
We can talk about how we put Wi-Fi on the lighthouse. Yeah, I think we do a little better than that. At Playmore Park, we moved the camera down to look at the gate more so we could curb the crime. I think we can do something a little stronger than that. We uninstalled P1 on all the squads and stuff. Well, hey guys, any status update on moving the PD closer to Quick Trip? We're working on it. What about when we put up the big red garage doors at the fire station? We didn't do that. Or when we installed P1 for their stuff too? No. Well, we're gonna help with the gate move at wastewater, and we're working on getting fiber out to all the buildings over there. It's just not it. Guys, so, the wireless bridge connectivity at Taylor Park is pretty poor. We can, improve it by cutting down this tree right here.
No.
Well, you know what? I think I agree with the tree.
What's happening?
I just don't know what the best thing to put in the video is.
There's gotta be something. We've done so much in the past year, there's just gotta be something.
Guys, I know what we did. We improved our network security posture by utilizing Know Before as our security awareness training.
I like it. Me too.
So don't forget to do your security training.
Now I will open up to questions.
Well, thank you for that insight into a day in the life in IT. I want to say I did my security training today. It was like 5 days late, but I did it. And with that, we'll go with some questions from Mr. Heisler.
Thank you very much. Great presentation as always, Ms. Duvenek. Just a couple of quick questions for you, and I apologize because I'm a bit of an IT nerd, so I'm going to jump into the weeds on some stuff here, but I know you can handle it, so we'll be all right. Well, that was nice Serenity music to start me off with. So I know that the city IT department doesn't use CloudStrike, but we've all heard a lot about what happened with the CloudStrike outage and basically having to roll back in order to delete that kind of thing. But that shut down a lot of systems across the country and had a lot of problems. Without giving away the secret sauce in doing what you do, can you tell us, like, if something like that were to happen to the city network structure or some of the city systems, how would you guys handle it, and then how does the public find out about that kind of thing?
Sure. So obviously we'd have all hands on deck, and what we would do is, like in this particular instance, it was kind of a quick fix, right? It was a matter of going and booting your machine up in safe mode and deleting a file. And in that particular situation, it would be like all hands on deck, and we would just execute and operate until we've hit each individual machine. I do know of another municipality that went through it, and you just have to work through it and prioritize, starting from your most priority systems and computers, and just work your way down.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Can you, because as a guy who lives downtown, I hear a lot about the downtown Wi-Fi. Can you give us kind of a timetable on some of those improvements and some of the things you're thinking about?
Yep. So we are in the still planning and design phase, and we're looking to hopefully procure something here in the next couple months. That is partially with utilizing the ARPA funding, so we do have to procure everything before the end of the year. So as far as the timeline, it's going to all depend on getting some of the infrastructure completely installed throughout the downtown. But I would like and think that it would happen sooner than later. It's just a matter of the coordination of getting those vendors and contractors.
Gotcha. And how much of the city's network is fiber at this point? Because I know you could talk a lot about fiber expansion, and that was something that's going to be part of the ARPA funding and all that sort, and then also CIP. Where are we at with overall fiber versus other connectivity?
Are you so fiber, like we're at the 30 plus miles. That does not include any of those new buildings that I just talked about, the wastewater water buildings. So once we have those completed, and the Public Safety Training Center, from a city building perspective, I I can't think of any building that we would be missing.
Excellent.
Right, but those are, yeah. So as far as like within city limits, I'll say that I'm pretty confident that we would have all of our sites covered.
Okay, only two more, and then I'm done, I promise.
Okay.
One of our main concerns, obviously, that we hear a lot about from the citizens is the public safety stuff. And I just wanted to know, I know you guys have a great collaborative relationship with both fire and rescue and the police department. Can you just kind of talk a little bit about, expand a little bit about how that works when they come to you with a need? How does that then get handled and triaged, and how does technology work with them to make sure that they're in tip-top shape?
As far as, are you talking about a specific?
If there's an issue with, like, let's say the cloud cam, or if there's an issue with like the car software, all that sort of stuff, because that's
Sure. So,
people kind of concerned
yeah,
about.
so what we have is we call them SLAs, or service level agreements. So when we get the users typically give a help desk ticket, and those help desk tickets will prompt our service level agreement or our priority. And we base it basically on that. Obviously, depending if it's related to one particular machine, the priority may be a little bit lower than if it's a business system or a system entirely. Like if their dispatch system is down, obviously that has a higher level of priority than an actual machine itself.
Gotcha.
So it's all based on what is the actual impact.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that information. And then lastly, in this particular building, in this particular room, I should say, we've had our fair share of challenges with remote access and all that sort of stuff. The last time that Mr. Schuessler and I were gone, we were chatbot buddies because we couldn't speak and all that sort of thing. And I'm just kind of wondering, can you expand a little bit on how particularly the remote access stuff is handled? Is that something that you guys handle exclusively, or is that a partnership with city and county? And is there anything we can do to improve that as we move forward?
Are you talking about the remote capabilities, like to?
Yeah, if we need to remote into a
city,
meeting,
county,
yep.
Into these meetings?
Yep.
He's the expert in the area, so I'll let him.
I was hoping Sam was going to say something tonight.
I'll let Sam speak on that
sakes.
topic because.
First time I get to speak here, all right.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, so how we're doing the remote capabilities in this room specifically, we're implementing Teams as a software. And with that software, essentially, you can pretty much, I actually have it up right now. So every council meeting that we've had Teams up and we've tested it. And so if at any given point in time you guys want to like remote from home, you will have that capability. The only troubling piece is what you're remoting from, right? So if you're remoting from your own PC, it's kind of difficult to troubleshoot because that's outside of the city scope.
Yep.
So we're kind of troubleshooting items that are outside of scope in unknown areas. So it's preferred that you give us a heads up on that.
Yep.
So that we can troubleshoot the device that you're actually going to actually come into, then we'll know it's all ready for the next meeting.
Gotcha. Excellent. Thanks a bunch, Sam. And a great presentation, Ms. Duvenek. Appreciate all your time on that.
Thank you, Mr. Heisler. Are there other questions from council? Well, I'll just add one question. In part because my security training that I did was about AI, and there's just been a lot of interest in what AI does. Actually, last year I went to the League of Municipalities conference, and they had a presentation on AI. It was one of the sessions that I attended, and they talked about how some municipalities are starting to use a lot more AI. They showed a model where you can actually have it where the AI will kind of scrape your internal network like documents and things to put together a new document for you based on like other work, which sounds cool, but also kind of security concerning. So I was wondering where we're at with, are you looking at incorporating AI into any of your daily work?
So I would say that it's definitely on the forefront of most IT leaders and all leaders in general, because it is a very powerful tool and there is so much that you can do with it. And right now, like we've been testing certain things like within our department. There really hasn't been any push or request, I should say, from any individual department. But it's on the forefront of our minds because there are some implications, legal, security, policy related. So those are all those fundamental things that we're going to have to work through and come up with some sort of secure process, and also find out what it is that our user base and our staff need and what their needs are in order to create that baseline.
That sounds good. Looking forward to what you might learn from that, and hopefully we'll hear more in the future. Mr. Schisler.
Question for Ms. Davy, the proposed requested IT budget, how does that impact in our city budget overall for next year?
I'm not sure what you're.
How would you say, as far as increase, decrease, the same?
It stayed the same. All of the city departments were held to the same standard of 0% increase.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Well, seeing none, thank you so much, Ms. Duvenek and your staff, for your presentation and the video, and thank you for all that you do to keep our information safe in the city. And with that, we will move on to our other presentation, the 2025 Community Development Budget Overview, presented by our Community Development Director, Ms. Benson.
Is it not working?
Yeah, we've got IT in the room if you need some help.
I need to, right? Apparently I need to enter in a help ticket. No, I haven't.
Star Wars names, wow.
So, okay.
All right, don't worry, we've got tech support coming.
That's my old screen. Why is my new one not? What is zoning and
So let's
The music.
It's like our program too. That's the super tramp right in there.
They want
ready. I'm ready. I was hoping for. Yeah,
That's what I just said.
I think Joe should have brought his sandwiches. Come on, Joe. Charcuterie board would have been lovely.
Wrong city office.
Nope. We're doing that for the special budget session. Don't you worry about it.
I've gotten a little practice.
I'm not good at either one, eat nor pick. There we go.
Yay.
Start. Give them their budget.
Start slideshow. Start slideshow.
All right, you got a lot of hype now. It's got to be really good.
Wow, a lot of pressure. Jiminy Christmas.
Yes, Diane, we believe in you.
So, I'm wedged between the department that saved us from CrowdStrike, and then I got the library following me, and they're going to rebuild Jurassic Park with their 3D printer from Idea Studio with some kitchen utensils. Spoiler alert, sorry. So here we are, the 2025 Community Development Budget. With me, I have Doug Horth, our Chief Building Inspector, and Kathy Lumens, my partner in crime from the Senior Center. So thank you so much, and we look forward to sharing this with you. Oh. Well, let's see. I think we have to reboot 3 times. I think that's how this works. All right. I had an opportunity about a month or so ago to be at an airport for a period of time. And so I was scrolling through social media, and this quote actually came up from an actual gaming site. And it spoke to me. Might have been because it was 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't know. But I chose to be a gamer because nothing epic ever happened in real life. Wow, think about that. Think about how often we're on this. And that's great. Gaming provides us an opportunity to connect with people from down the block and across the United States. But what are we doing with the people in our own community? And to say nothing ever happened in your real life. That's something, but I think we can do better. So let's start talking about the players in the game. Community development, building inspection, as I introduced Doug Horth, Senior Center, Kathy Lumens. I'm with the Community Development and Planning, and we have parking facilities, the maintenance. Nick Natch is my parking lead. We're made of about 11 full-time people, 4 part-time people. And the breakdown is there. So here we're going to start with our parking facilities, kind of like ramps and stairs, chutes and ladders. Parking, the fire department uses it. They use the stairwells for various training opportunities. Police department, as you showed in their budget, they also use it for training. So it's really, a wonderful, multifaceted facility. So we have 17 parking lots, over 8 acres of parking, 2 ramps, another 6 acres, 1,500 parking stalls, 800 parking meters, and 1.5 staff persons to keep it all nice and tidy. And so, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. And when we start talking about, life, play has gotten a bad word. It seems frivolous. But yet, play is really about how do we enjoy life and incorporate work. So let's talk a little bit about trivia. We're going to do the Senior Center edition. Play along.
How many people in Fond du Lac County are over age 50? 42,393. Wisconsin leads the nation in elderly deaths due to what cause? Falls. You should have known that one from the fire department. Research shows that social isolation and loneliness has the same risk to someone's physical health as smoking how many cigarettes a day? 15. So our center serves a purpose of providing an opportunity for individuals to come together in various capacities. The center had how many total programs for the month of July? 251. The center had how many unique programs in July? Those are programs that they've only happened for that month. Sometimes we have programs like card games and other things that might happen a couple times a week or a couple times a month. Our unique programs are very special for that month, 66. How many of the 8 pillars of health can you name? We have social, emotional, financial, occupational, spiritual, intellectual, physical, and environmental. And our center tries to hit all of those and serving those in our community. So who is nominated as the 2024 Sheroes? So each year, the Fond du Lac Women's Fund acknowledges women in our community as Shero for their contributions and impact to the community. That's right, Kathy and Sarah are considered the dynamic duo, the 2 people who run our center and are greatly appreciated by those individuals who attend our services and programs and are well liked within the community. Because let's be honest, even firefighters need heroes. So we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. So these are important elements that we provide. So our Know Before You Need to Know initiative started last year, and so we've expanded upon that. And those are programs designed for people as they're starting to age so that they can be prepared to make informed decisions before they actually need to, when otherwise would be under stress. So we added the dreaded downsize, monitoring your credit score, so you're thinking about selling your home, homes and trusts, and 7 surprising reasons to see a physical therapist. If you've driven past the center or been there to vote, you have seen that we've rebranded. We've dropped the senior, and we're just now the center, a place for active older adults. Because let's be honest, nobody wants to be called senior. We're all heading there. Some of us more than others. But that's okay. And so we're just going to embrace the activities that we have for all of us. We've been working with the police department, with our revamped neighborhood watch program, and we're going to be serving as the kind of kickoff for that, and will be the initial focal point for convening our neighbors together. And we've continued our partnership with the Parks Department with our water aerobics and water yoga for the summer. So, play is training for the unexpected. That's kind of a great way to describe inspections a little bit, kind of like the game of Tetris. Everything's kind of got to fall together or doesn't always quite work well. So you can see our numbers from 2023 to 2024 through June. So we're on track to hit most of those benchmarks for both number of field inspections. We have 4 field inspectors, so they conduct last year over 7,000 inspections in the course of a year. And they're on track to meet or exceed that for 2024. We have $38 million going in commercial industrial construction, including additions and alterations. We've already had $4 million in new residential construction, $6 million in residential alterations, and we've addressed 220 code violations. So we've talked a little bit about, what it's like to work in inspections, but sometimes, you got to work with some contractors. And sometimes getting everybody together, to work together, row together, sometimes that's the hardest part. And sometimes things don't always work out the way you've planned. So here we have our first interesting building effort. Mr. Horth, would you want to share what we've got here?
Yeah, so this was an interesting build. This was actually a contractor that decided to put a footing in, but it was actually too short, so then decided to just keep stacking 2x4s on top of each other until it actually met the right height.
So for reference, not an approved building method.
No. So these two pictures that just came up kind of correspond with each other. So this one was just a simple roof inspection that we do when you obtain a roof permit. The picture on the top is actually a attic roof vent, which is very common, but the place of it is actually unusual for me when I did this inspection. And what you're looking at in the lower one there is actually the chimney. So the chimney for a wood fireplace was actually connected to this roof attic ventilation. So I'm very confident if I didn't write this up, the fire department would have been there come fall. This one is where we have a lot of connections to a fire department, or sorry, to the hydrant, which part of our responsibility is for cross connections. So we regulate and protect the water, so your drinking water. So this is there's no backflow protection on this installation. And this one is just kind of a quagmire of lots of plumbing stuff going on there, all done incorrectly. I don't even know how it worked, to be honest with you.
So as you can see, our team is here to help address these issues and to prevent problems. And while it might seem inconvenient when we indicate that that's not an acceptable method of construction, it's really to save you future costs. Yep. So let's go on to community development. And so, we've got a lot of, opportunity in a community like ours. And not only are we centrally located an hour from Green Bay, Madison, and Milwaukee, but we got a lot of our own great things going on, from loop wayfinding signage to the Brook Street redevelopment to the wood sampler is going to get a brand new facade. We've seen the redevelopment of Beer Nuts is going to be underway shortly. We've got the mall redevelopment happening, and we've got a lot of other great things that are in the queue. So let's kind of get down to it. So we will talk a little bit about downtown investments. I'm not going to go into it in great detail because Amy will be here next month, or next meeting, I'm sorry, and she'll share with you all the wonderful things that they've accomplished. But it really is a partnership between the city and the DFP. We provide them funding through the Building Improvement Grant, which helps with exterior facades, a creative sign grant, which you'll see the Nitty Gritty is one of those new signs. That really created additional visual interest on our main street. We have our catalytic project, that'll be the wood sampler. We have the new business and experience generator grants, where new businesses coming into the downtown can get some funding to help with capital and equipment, depending on the type of business they are. We provide investment in our downtown landscaping. Our planners just look phenomenal this year. We're going to be implementing the riverfront plan, and we've got our Hamilton Park improvements, because yes, downtown does have a park. It's called Hamilton Park. So the comprehensive plan was adopted in January 2021. And so as we've accomplished so far this year, we're working on our flood mitigation. And that is, again, is a voluntary acquisition of a property that then would be raised and create additional flood capacity. To date, we have not yet identified a property for acquisition, but we will keep that open. You'll recall in February, you helped us update some zoning code changes, including our new neighborhood mixed-use district. We're going to be implementing the Fond du Lac Loop Master Plan. You can see examples of the signs that will hopefully start being installed in fall of 2024. And we also initiated our housing study. Going into 2025, we're going to be implementing the North Main Street Redevelopment Vision Plan, implementing our housing study recommendations, and undertaking our placemaking improvements. So placemaking, the U.S. Bank Green Space. You recall about a year or so ago, we came before you to apply through the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation for their Vibrancy Grant. We were not selected, but we felt strongly that this U.S. Bank Green Space, which is a green space in between U.S. Bank and Knight's Title, that connects really Main Street and the library. And so what we're looking at doing is really redoing the entire thing. So basically starting from scratch, including some space that's more flexible for programming, but still can be used in a very passive way, and enhancing the lighting throughout the space as well. You can see cafe lights will be added. You can see a hint of the lights. You can see this is actually looking down towards Main Street with the potential for adding a mural on the one side. And then that green is actually turf, so that it could be used for, some kind of gaming court, or you could have families sitting there and you could have a small movie being played. Gateways. You'll recall that we talked a little bit about the city does an exchange from time to time with another community. And we have them come in from all different directions, from 41 at all of our access points, from 151 from the other side. And so one of the feedbacks that we received from that kind of exchange that really stuck with us was that people didn't know that they were entering a community, that they were entering a really cool place. And so we really want to highlight that, and working in partnership with the county and their roundabouts. So what we're looking at is a schematic that would utilize the metal, because we are strong in manufacturing. It would be the ledge stone because of the ledge, very simple lettering, and then a cabinet that could be changed depending on its location. For the military hickory, we'd be highlighting some of our industrial heritage, and then as we go around this loop of the city, highlighting some of our natural elements as well. So as you're driving in from the city, you know where you've entered. You've entered that, not only a wonderful community, but a wonderful county. So we'll talk about housing. So Mr. DeVries highlighted a little bit about extending the infrastructure across 151. That's already been in the budget. And that's opening up our growth area for future development for housing. We're going to be talking about partnering with residential developers on infrastructure. We're going to be talking about redevelopment opportunities, and then implementing the housing study and strategic plan. So let's talk about infrastructure and residential development. So let's walk through what it's like to actually build a subdivision. So here is an excerpt of a subdivision plat. So for most of you, unless you live in the core of the city, you follow this process. The core of the city followed the same similar process, but it was slightly modified back in the day. So what happens is this. A housing developer finds a plat of land, thinks, I think this might be a great place to build some housing. Reaches out to the city, confirms that that development could go there, that residential is appropriate for that. Checks to see if maybe there's sewer and water in the area. And then from there, they start the purchase process. That purchase process usually has a very extensive due diligence period. They have to do a wetland delineation. They have to do soils tests. These are all things that they have to undertake before they actually even close on the property. So you're looking, depending on the size of that property, anywhere from 3 months to 9 months before they actually purchase that property. Then from there, they are retaining the services of a surveyor and an engineering service to put together a concept of what the plat might look like in terms of how the roads might be laid out based on the topography, how they can accommodate drainage, how many lots can they get in, what are some of the amenities. And then from there, they submit a preliminary plat that has to be approved by Plan Commission. And then from there, they take our feedback, and then they finalize all the grading and the drainage and things like that, and then they submit their final plat that goes to Plan Commission and then to City Council. Depending on how quickly they move, that's anywhere from another 6, 9, sometimes a year before they get that process completed. So you might be 2 years into a housing development. Then from there, they develop the infrastructure, sewer, water, some kind of stormwater management, and then constructing the road. And that usually takes another year. Then once the road is in, then they can start building the home. Most people, developers nowadays, don't do too many spec homes. They usually build to suit. They might do 1 spec home for every 2, 3 homes that are under contract for construction. And the cost of home construction have increased. A basement used to cost $15,000 to build. Now it's $30,000. That's just the basement. That's not the rest of the house. And then that's assuming that there's no delays in materials. Sometimes garage doors can be delayed 6 months, windows 3 months. So those are all the things that the developer is up against. And so when we're looking at how do we help facilitate housing development at all levels, we're also looking at home ownership. And so one of the things that we'll be proposing in the 2025 budget is partnering with 2 of our local subdivision developers on helping to build that infrastructure. So they would design it to our specifications, but it would be bid out by the city and then constructed as part of a city project and funded by the city. And so we would do a single road within that subdivision, not all the roads in the subdivision. So for example, one subdivision road might accommodate 18 single-family residences. So, and then after that, once those houses are built, we could look at partnering with them in the future for the next road within that subdivision. And so we're looking at doing that with 2 of our subdivision developers that we have here in the city that have a tried and true reputation of building, sound quality subdivisions. And so this is something new for us. It's not something that we have typically done in the past. But we know that the cost of infrastructure impedes the lot. Developers do not make money off the lot. So a lot that used to sell back in the day for maybe $15,000, $30,000, now minimally starts at $50,000 and can go upwards of that depending on the size of the lot and the location. So if you're looking at something into building your own first home, you need to have minimally $80,000 in the game before you even start to build your dream home. And so if we can reduce the cost of the lot for home buyers and offer these opportunities for increasing our home ownership opportunities, we do think this is a potential for future partnership. So it will be in the 2025 budget. But always there's redevelopment. And we have a wonderful building here at 30 South Main Street. You might know it at the Nielsen Building. Might have known it as a previous home of Marian University. It sits at the intersection of Main Street and Sheboygan. It is currently vacant as Marian departed and has consolidated all of their classes back on campus. There are no tenants in there right now. It's a beautiful building, but office demand is not there. So, what's its next life? So here you see that we've opened up the front of the building to add some stairs. We've added some arbors over it to open it up. Open it up to what? To a enclosed public space. So on either side, you have gaming space. So what you'll see here is an area for a cornhole, and then on another one, you will see a space for what I would call the, child of billiards meets soccer. And then you have an area for, that could be used as a stage or could be used as a seating area. The back wall is permanent vendor space, and then in the middle is, flexible potential vendor space, or could be tables. And then along the front, you will see some area for seating that actually has a bar area or like a bar top where people can sit there and look out onto Main Street Plaza. This is a completely enclosed space separate from the rest of the building, and so can be managed accordingly. This space would not be intended to be open 24/7. It would be open only if there is a event planned, activity planned, either potentially partnering with the Downtown Fond du Lac Partnership or Fond du Lac Festivals, or even a private entity could rent it for their own, corporation or the residents. So what we're looking at here is a residential development, 25 market rate units. We think this is a great place for our young professionals who have been moving into our community, for them to come and find a place to, temporarily live until they find the home of their dreams. And so because of the way the building is built, it does have a garden level, so we are able to accommodate some housing on the first or on the garden level. Here we have a handful of units, and then the top floor, the third floor, would be the remaining residential. So here you can see what that space might look like. And then you can see it at night. So we have shared these images with Marion, and they're very supportive of a partnership working with the city to help facilitate the redevelopment of this project. The project currently does not have any tax base. It's tax exempt. So it does have potential for its redevelopment if we were looking at a public-private partnership to potentially consider a tax increment finance district, but we won't know that until we start talking to developers. And so we wanted to make sure that we shared this with Marion University as well as with City Council before we started undertaking any conversations. But we think that this can really be a game changer for the downtown and create some additional space that people have been talking about having enclosed. Those windows that you see will actually open, so they actually fold back so that it can be exposed and open to the elements. And so, anyway, we think it's a pretty cool opportunity. Maybe almost even epic. So we'll run down our list of investments. Always need to work on our Macy ramp. We've got the riverfront implementation, brownfield redevelopment, which is always a high priority for us because we still do have those. For those that may not be familiar with the term brownfield is a formerly developed site that may be vacant or underutilized that either actually is contaminated or has a perception of contamination. Our city gateway development, the flood mitigation, North Main Street business assistance, our North Main Street plan, our streetscape, the placemaking, which is the US Bank green space, our loop wayfinding signage, which you saw a picture of, and then we have our housing facilitation, the one subdivision, which would be on the east side, that would be the first road, and then we did put a placeholder in for a second road in 2026. And then the other subdivision partnership would be in the northeast side, and that amount is proposed there. I think you've learned from watching all of the budget presentations that it is all about teamwork, making everything work together, and I think we do it well. But I also think that play and having creativity and thinking outside of the box can move us to that next level. And that's what we need to focus on. And I think some of the projects that we've outlined, while maybe outside of what we normally do, really have the opportunity to change the game. And with that, I'm more than happy to take questions.
Thank you. We will start with Mr. Schisler.
Excellent presentation, Diane. So everyone knows that I got a chance to meet with Diane last week, one-on-one, to talk about the housing issues, and just encourage council members that you're willing to meet with us individually to talk about the things that some of the things you talked about tonight. And definitely such a thick subject, you pretty much have to do that, I think, to get your arms around all this stuff. But thanks for the meeting last Wednesday, and following up on what you said about the housing study. Came up a week ago tonight at the housing study presentation, where some of us were there, about opportunity sites, where sites in town would be published in a more prominent way to entice developers, and accessory dwelling units that could be added to single-family homes if we made a code change for that, and reducing lot sizes. So I'm just curious, when will these kinds of issues be coming back to us for?
Sure. So the public information meeting on Wednesday was really truly a public input session. So the consultants shared some concepts that they were looking at as ways to help strategize to enhance our housing opportunities. And they'll take that feedback, and then they'll come back to actually do a formal presentation before council. We're hoping for September, but they do need to travel, so we're going to tentatively aim for September. So then they'll be rolling out those strategies. and then we can, from there, have a conversation. But in the meantime, Plan Commission actually will be looking at some residential lot size changes at their meeting on Monday, and that would be coming back to you at your next meeting for that. But I think right now, it's really just about letting the consultant, finalize the housing plan and then putting together those final strategies that would be brought forth, and that would be the appropriate time for further discussion.
And a couple other questions. Once we get across 151 with the sewer and water, how much potential acreage will that open up for?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but as other people ask me questions, I may be able to answer that for you. Continue, Mr. Schuessler. I can multitask.
Okay. What's that?
I can multitask. You can keep talking.
Okay. And I hear from people from time to time. I'm very grateful for the developers we have. I wouldn't have a house if it weren't for our developers, but people call and complain that we don't have more, a bigger pool of developers doing things in the city. Somebody yesterday just said, no more developments from so-and-so, which I didn't agree with, but I'm wondering, as part of your department, what is the city doing to recruit developers?
So we do reach out. So we have a different list of developers for different types, whether it's multifamily, small developers. We have lists with real estate professionals that focus on commercial redevelopment. And so we do reach out to them when we see the opportunities that are available. For example, when the Shopco development, building became available, we reached out to those list of developers to find somebody that might be a good fit. So when other lots are available, the Thieves lot, we reached out to those known multifamily developers, and hopefully we'll be announcing soon who we'll be working with on that site. So that's already underway and something you've previously approved. So we do reach out to developers as sites become available, but we also have to be cognizant of the fact that it's not our property, and we need to be sensitive to the fact that we're talking about private property when we're offering things up with developers.
Go ahead.
All right, Mr. Heisler.
Awesome. Thank you very much, President Brault. Awesome presentation. Thank you so much, Diane. Appreciate it.
Mr. Heisler, can I just?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Mr. Schuessler, you're looking at approximately slightly over 154 acres that would be immediately available for development, probably slightly double that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Okay, first off, thanks, Kathy. I think you were the best star in all the photos. I just got to tell you that. The poses were great. They were awesome. And I love the rebranding of the center. I think that's really, really neat. And I'm really excited for all the programming that you guys do. Doug, I don't know how you do your job every day without, I would probably have nightmares if I had to go through some of those situations. So props, and thank you so much for being here. And I just want to say, first off, your presentation was worth the wait. So we had to wait a little bit, but it was really worth it. Thanks for sliding in my favorite Fred Rogers quote. Any day that includes Fred is a good day for me, so you can always be my neighbor. And I just want to tell you that I'm very, very excited about US Bank as a guy who lives downtown. I see that used all the time, especially during Fondue Fest. People just kind of hang there. It's such a logical, great use for that space. And my first question is, when do you think that would be completed?
So we're looking at implementing it over a course of probably 3 years, because it's pretty significant. So part of the work needs to incorporate some work that will be part of the Main Street project. So we'll be working with engineering and public works on that, and then also starting to lay some of the infrastructure, so electrical. So the US Bank green space will probably be under construction for a couple years as we slowly start to roll that out. So I would say probably at least 3 years out before it's fully completed.
And timetable, I mean, and I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but the gateway timetable, is that a similar timetable, or is that going to be done a little sooner?
So that will be, we're in process of doing some survey work to finalize the details. Our hope is to go out for bid probably early next year. And so we're aiming to do 2 of the roundabouts in 2025, and then work our way around the rest as we go.
Excellent. The subdivision support is a really, really great idea. I know that's a new undertaking for us, but I'm really excited about the opportunities and the possibilities there. And the fact that we can add that much for development is really wonderful. So thank you for considering that in your budget, and I'll be excited to see what the fruits of that come out to be. And then lastly, a personal favor request. If I could be the first one to get approved at 30 South Main, I would really appreciate that. I'm looking for a new spot, and I think you just found me one. That's a home run right there. So let's get that done, and I'm ready to move in when you're ready, okay?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I don't think that's appropriate use of your power here.
I think, no, it's just a discussion at this point. It's an input item. It's fine. It's fine.
All right, thank you. Are there other questions from council? Well, I'm not seeing any, so I'll jump in with a few of my own because I'd like to talk about 30 South Main a little bit too. I'm just wondering, are there any communities that have something similar that you're modeling this off of? Because people have always talked about having like indoor public spaces, and it's hard to visualize what that actually means. So have you seen this in play in other places?
Not that I can think of. It was just one of those things as we were walking through the building that you see the potential. And so it was just about, working with, there was a developer that walked through the building early on, and we talked a little bit about it, and they couldn't see it. So we worked with Excel to try to then create a vision for that. And so, because it is, we know that we've had requests for, the market on Main Street to return the Wednesday market. And again, just some challenges there, and just knowing that there needs to be flexible space. And when that building became, available, to me, it just seemed that it's, prime location, why not?
Well, I am very excited to see how that unfolds. I think that'll just be such an incredible addition to what we have in Fond du Lac, especially downtown. As Mr. Heisler said, very excited to hear about some movement on housing. We hear about it all the time, and partnering with developers on the infrastructure, I think, is key. From what I've been reading about housing, that's one of the biggest hurdles. So I'm glad that we're going to include that in the budget. And also the gateway. Like, I know I've been driving to Oshkosh a lot recently, and they have been doing some of those in their roundabouts, and it's really surprising how noticeable it is when you're entering a community. So I'm really excited, especially with the visualization that you shared. That's really cool that you're incorporating Fond du Lac's qualities into the gateways. So thank you for the work being done on that. And then finally, I was just wondering if you could provide any highlights on some of the North Main or the riverfront development plans that we might be seeing in the future.
Sure. So you'll recall, as part of last year's budget request, that we had talked about doing some business assistance. And so we were going to roll that out this year. So to get money from the city, you cannot owe the city money. So we found, as we were doing our research, that there were some individuals along North Main Street that do the deferred payment method for some of their responsibilities. And so this year we are embracing education to let them know that we're going to be rolling out this program. And while the deferred payment method may be a good cash flow option for them, it will negate their availability to participate in our program, which we hope they may revisit that thought process. And then after that, we're looking about 2 years out to working on some streetscape improvements. And so we've had a couple people ask about some of the buildings along North Main Street. So our North Main Street plan has definitely gathered some attention. And so we're hoping to see, as we start to implement some of those things, that we'll see some, investment on the private side. In regards to the riverfront plan, and I'll never get tired of saying this, that somewhere is now nowhere. And so that has opened it up to some opportunities. And so we're in the process of completing our restroom building at Hamilton Park along with the shelter. And we're actually working with bringing in a consultant on board to do the next design for one of the next nodes of the riverfront plan. We're probably going to end up targeting the Hamilton Park just because we have the restrooms in place there. It makes sense to kind of build on that kind of momentum. And then as we go from node to node, we'll work through each one.
Well, it's just so exciting to see all the movement that's happening in those areas. And thank you for the very diplomatic answer. on North Main. Be interesting to see how the education effort actually works, because, yeah. With that, are there any other questions from council members for Ms. Benson? I'm not seeing any, so thank you again for your amazing presentation. It was definitely worth the wait, as Mr. Heisler said. And since you were mentioning all the play, if anybody wants to play any of the games that they saw, you could probably go to the library and check out some board games.
Nice plug.
So we've got a pretty epic collection of board games already at our public library if nobody's been there. So anyway, with that, that ends our presentation of input items, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Zimmerman, second by Mr. Heisler. This is not debatable. Please proceed to vote.
It's shut down. It's shut down.
You need a piece of paper. And that passes unanimously. We are adjourned.
There we go. That was a safe assumption.